Good morning everyone and welcome to this week's family worship. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Helen. It's great to be back with you for another week. Today we're going to be carrying on through our journey through Exodus, looking at the lessons that they learnt and how it applies to us now, particularly as we're coming out of this pandemic season. Now before we get started today, why don't we start by sharing our highs and lows of the week. What has been your best bit and what has been your worst bit of the week? Share them with your family, type them in the comments box. It'd be great to hear about those now. Now my high this week was being able to hang out with friends and see some family, and we went to London for the day. My low though was that I had to do some mock exams, and actually I hadn't taken the time to think or prepare for them. Because of that, I didn't do very well. It wasn't a very wise decision. Today we're going to be thinking about wisdom a little bit more. So let's get started by thinking about that now. What do you think wisdom means? If you follow along as we read today, we are looking in Exodus chapter 18, so big number 18, starting at verse 5, and we're going to be reading all the way to the end. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' son and wife, came to see him in the wilderness, where he was camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent word to him, "I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to see you with your wife and her 2 sons." So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. They greeted each other and went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law about everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and about the hardships they had met along the way and how the Lord had saved them. Jethro was delighted to hear about the good things the Lord had done for Israel in rescuing them from the hands of the Egyptians. He said, "Praise be to the Lord who rescued you from the hands of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods, for he did this to those who treated Israel arrogantly." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God, and Aaron came with the elders of Israel to eat a meal with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. The next day Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from the morning to the evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you're doing for your people? Why do you sit alone as the judge, while all these people have to wait around from morning till evening?" Moses answered, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever there's a dispute, it's brought to me, and I have to decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions." Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you're doing is not good. You and these people who have come, you'll only wear yourself out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice. And may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions, and show them the way they are to live and to how they should behave. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as official over thousands, hundreds, fifties and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but get them to bring every difficult case to you. Simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. Have you ever heard something wise? That is, something that seems very sensible, something practical, and something exactly right for the moment. Now, wisdom is one of God's gifts, and in today's Bible passage, if we read it, Jethro was sharing wisdom with Moses. Wisdom was given to Moses to help him lead, to make Moses a wise leader. In the passage, we heard about how one of Moses' roles was as a judge. That is, someone who can tell what is right and what is wrong. Someone who knows the laws, that is, the commandments that God has set out, and will be able to help and apply those to different situations. When we're wise, this discernment, that means telling the difference, becomes a whole lot easier. One of the really exciting things when we follow God and follow Jesus is that he gifts us with wisdom too. So that when we follow him, we don't have to follow our old patterns or our old ways of living, but we can follow a new, wise way of living too. In the passage, we heard specifically that Moses was able to appoint leaders to help him and share work. And I love this particularly because it shows the importance and the wisdom of having a team around you, but also of listening to friends' advice. And it's why it's really important to surround ourselves with the right people that have our best interests at heart, but also people that listen to God, like Jethro did. Jethro was then able to share his words of wisdom to Moses and make a big difference to all of God's people through his actions. Now, thinking about how this applies to us now and coming out of the pandemic, it's really important that we listen to the wise voices. It might be that there are some unwise voices telling us to do things that actually doesn't feel safe or feels a little bit risky right now. We can choose to instead follow wisdom. That is, choosing to do what is right in the situation. The action that most cares for other people, most looks after yourself and your body, and it seems like the most sensible thing God would want you to do in that moment. It might be that praying about this and asking God what he thinks about doing something is really helpful. One of the big differences between Moses as one leader, being able to say what's right and wrong, and then sharing his responsibility, is to show that there's a big difference between him and Pharaoh. That is, one man who thought he was God. He would have said what was right and wrong, and people would have had to listen. Now Moses, instead of saying what was right and what was wrong, would pray and listen to God. But also, he would listen to sensible people, like Jethro. Jethro is also someone who prays and listens to God. God is able then to speak wisdom, wise words, that is, things that are sensible, right for the moment, and right in God's eyes, into their lives and into their situation. It's through this difference that God is able to show his people that a new life has begun for them. They're no longer under the rule, under the wisdom, the wrong wisdom, of Pharaoh. They're now under the wonderful wisdom of God, a Father who loves them and wants the best for them. In one of the Proverbs, it tells us that wisdom is better than gold. That means it is infinitely more valuable than money, possessions, or anything we could buy in the world. When we're making wise choices and wise decisions, it guides us along the right path, and God will bless us in that. We're going to be doing a bit of a craft to focus in on this now. Take a look at the instructions that follow and see how you get on. How did you get on with the craft? It would be lovely to see some pictures. You can share them on the Jam Family WhatsApp or post them in the comments below. We're going to finish now with some worship. Wisdom is a gift from God.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. silence you won't let go. In the questions your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore.
Thank you so much all for hanging out again. It's been great to see you. We're going to be back again next week with another video for family worship. Remember, we are back in the building now, and we even have our 3 to 5 group starting, so you can book your tickets through Eventbrite, and again, make sure you filled out a registration form online. Any problems, do get in touch. We'd love to talk things through with you. Have a good week. Take care. Bye.